another week of the Gould-Fish pod. I'm Matt Gould alongside
I'm Ryan Fish. Yes.
There we go. And we got a ton of stuff to go through, a great AEW Dynamite from this week and Rampage. However, we've got to start with some of the news we've heard first. That being, first, Jeff Hardy has totally spoiled his AEW signing.
Gotta love Jeff Hardy.
Sometimes he just seems so truly aloof that it's hard to blame him for some of these things. But some guy's YouTube channel, his name's Jared Myers. I don't think it's like particularly a big channel or anything either. Jeff Hardy was just doing a concert and did an interview and didn't skirt around any questions that he was asked. So I guess he'll be coming soon, possibly even at Revolution. Who knows? Somebody will do something to piss off Matt Hardy.
Yes. It'll be Isaiah Cassidy yet again.
Yes. Yes. Which there was a funny segment on the show regarding them.
Yes.
Before we move on to the other ones, do you have any memories of Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys, anything like that from your childhood?
I would say the most recent one would still be the one where they came out together. I guess I don't know if that was like out of retirement or whatnot.
At the WrestleMania?
The WrestleMania,
the
yeah. That's
one?
like yes.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only one I really kind of remember.
Was that? I don't even remember what WrestleMania that was. Maybe it was 32, 31. I don't even remember.
I just remember seeing it like kind of like on social media, just like how like popular, like,
yeah,
you know, seeing that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these guys are great.
Now, the thing with both of them is they're both extremely creative. And around that time when they did come back, they had both come off of a very hot run. That was when they went and won the Impact titles as Broken Matt and Brother Nero. And they also won the Ring of Honor titles when they showed up at a Ring of Honor house show for an impromptu tag title match with the Bucks. And the way it was supposed to go is they were going to do like a 7-month long feud with the Bucks and the Hardys. And then they had to condense the entire thing into 3 months or so, maybe even less, because the WWE called and asked if they wanted to come back at WrestleMania. So a fun fact about that night is that was actually the second night in a row that they had a ladder match.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
The night before was Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor, another great pay-per-view name. And the main event of the show was the Bucks versus the Hardys in a ladder match. And like, it was every bit of a Bucks Hardys ladder match that you could possibly expect. And then the next day they wrestled in the ladder match at WrestleMania. And I don't think either of them did anything. Jeff did a high swanton off the top of a ladder. And I think Matt did like a side effect off the side of the ladder. And I think other than that, they were just there and eventually climbed the ladders and won. And if you
I do love Jeff Hardy's swanton bomb, though. That's a icon,
inspired a generation.
Yes.
Fuck, Nyla Rose does the swanton.
Yes.
I mean, shit, it's got reaches. And if you believe all of the stories that you read, they had this feud with the Hardys, and apparently Vince McMahon called the Young Bucks before the match and said, please don't kill them. So that'll be exciting. The one thing about it, though, to me is it goes without saying that they're both getting old.
Yes.
And Matt can only do so much so often. But then, like, I hear in that same interview that Jeff Hardy claimed that his dream match was Roman Reigns, and he talked about doing a match with Roman Reigns all the time. And like, nobody who's ready to pack it in is sitting there wanting like a dream match against the Universal Champion.
Right.
Like, they might be happy if they got one, but it's not like they're sitting there like, God, I just want this match. Like, give me this match. Like, so he sounds like a guy who's still ready to go.
How many years left?
How many years and how healthy can they stay? Jeff in particular. I mean, Matt has had his issues, but Jeff, it seems like, has always had like tears or something. And Matt Hardy's back and pelvis were fused together at one point. I have no idea how that even gets fixed. So hopefully they're still able to go a little bit.
But I can tell you my favorite Jeff Hardy moment in WWE is...
What's that?
Where he rolled up Karrion Kross in like a minute and pinned him.
That's your favorite Jeff Hardy?
That's my favorite moment. I think that's like one of the definitely like some of like the most talked about moments. Like,
I remember being a kid in like 08, maybe it was '07, but it was '07, '08, '09. And I just wanted Jeff Hardy to win the goddamn WWE championship so bad. And every time he get a chance, he get fucking screwed. And I don't know how I don't look back on that and think, oh, no wonder this company is the way that it is. But like back then, they just did it better. And after way too many tries, he finally won the WWE title. And that's my biggest
There you go.
Jeff Hardy memory. Everyone was very excited about that. And then like less than a year later, he had to leave the company again because of some bad issues. So hopefully he comes back and recreates some of those memories.
Yeah, capture the magic.
Yeah, a couple more times, at least for one or two more Bucks matches.
Right.
Some of the other piece of news that we have is so Shane Strickland, Swerve. It has been, I guess, leaked that he has signed a contract with AEW. I know you're a little unfamiliar, just worth mentioning that he's one of those people that I saw in all of those indie shows in the Chicagoland area, and he's going to be great. He's definitely a different speed than some of the wrestling that you see, but he's a phenomenal wrestler for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him then. I mean, if he's,
I know you haven't seen much of him other than the Hit Row stuff.
The Hit Row stuff, yes. But yeah, I mean, if he's kind of how people described him, I mean, he's definitely going to be a perfect fit for AEW. So I'm definitely happy to have him.
He'll be one of those guys that's as good as the time they give him. Gotcha. If there's no time, he's not going to be able to do a whole hell of a lot with it, but who could?
Right.
And then lastly, Cesaro was released today or yesterday. I don't know. He's gone. And apparently he didn't want to leave. He just didn't like the offer that he was given. And so he decided not to resign, which means that there's every possibility that he does resign. However, a lot of people are clamoring for him to come to AEW and start having these great matches. However, he didn't want to leave. And at the end of the day, he was probably getting paid a decent amount of money.
Right.
To kind of, I hate saying like easy, but he was in a simple role. You know, he didn't have like the most expansive role. So to make a lot of money and to have some fun matches without having to like be Roman Reigns, I mean, I can see the appeal to it since there's no crazy WWE schedule like there used to be when they were doing all these crazy house shows. The schedule's just not as strenuous. So like he's 41 years old. And maybe that's his bag. So there's nothing that says he can't go back, but people do want him unleashed.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot to consider. It's, how much does he cost? I think that's kind of the big item for him at the moment, especially for AEW.
The one thing negotiating wise that is a little hard to figure out for me is in a lot of cases, AEW isn't going to be able to match a big WWE offer. So what was he making? And would AEW be able to afford the contract that he just had? And if they could, is he really going to accept the same money somewhere else? In what role? And like, he was happy with WWE, happy enough that he wanted to stay. So by going to AEW and not being able to get a higher offer, that tells WWE that there is no higher offer out there for you. And then they don't have to raise their price either.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, he seems like a guy that'll have fun wrestling wherever he is, but like a Bryan Danielson type guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I genuinely have no idea what he'll do. And again, the roster is so big. How much time can you give him? And does it matter?
Right. That's exactly. It's just like, what kind of role would he be in AEW?
And it's all nice and dandy when people first debut, but then all of a sudden they've gone through the first couple weeks of their debut, reveal, first feud, and then people just like to disappear for a little while. So
right. No, absolutely.
So time will tell with some of those guys. I mean, even Keith Lee being one of them, but it's always exciting to have new faces.
Well, at least Keith Lee made an appearance on this Dynamite. We'll get to that, but
yeah, he sure did. But is there any closing thoughts on some of the people coming in or anything like that?
I'm excited for Swerve. I did see that little indie promotion that he was there with like Darby Allin, given that I can't remember his name, that young kid contract. Yes. So, I kind of hope that like him and Darby, and he's kind of part in that group. I think that'd be a good way to bring someone in, is kind of have Sting and Darby. I mean, you get that rub for sure.
Yeah, well, also a Shane Strickland Darby match is a match you want to see. For those of you that are unfamiliar with those two working together, that's absolutely a match that you want to see. So hopefully they do something on TV.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, well, I guess it's time for one of the main courses here. We can go ahead and talk some Dynamite. Fish, what did you think of the show overall?
Overall, I thought it was a very good show. The talking points really hit. The promos, were money, and I thought the matches, I think, were very solid all the way around.
I would agree. I think it was a second week with a real big time hit of a show. I liked basically everything on the show. I mean, there was some stuff that was just kind of like there, but overall, I mean, as a show to build to a pay-per-view, it did its job and then some. For sure, I was very entertained.
Yes, I liked it. I mean, I was definitely like in it. So,
all right, well, let's go through, see what we got here.
So to kick off Dynamite, we had that 10 tag team Royal to get the first tag team into that three-way match with the Jurassic Express.
Which seems a little backwards, by the way. I feel like the tag team casino battle royale should have gone first.
Yes.
Because then, like, in that match, you might be one of the teams that comes out later on, and then you have an advantage. I feel like it would then be fitting for all of the remaining teams in their second try for there to be no advantage. Everyone just starts in the ring. Doesn't actually matter, but I kind of thought about that after the fact.
That is a good point. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like they all just like, right when it, the bell rang, they all went in there. So, I mean, that definitely makes sense. Like the second time there's no, easy breaks.
Yeah, like imagine, and this won't happen, but imagine you're the Gun Club and you get eliminated early on in this battle royal, and then you're the Joker in the casino battle royal.
Right. Yeah, like that doesn't make sense. So,
well, hey, if you're a fan of the Gun Club, it makes sense.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the Ass Boys.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not like a big battle royal fan. I think battle royals generally are a pretty boring match. However, AEW seems to do battle royals pretty well every time they do them. It was kind of a lot of nothing, just guys doing stuff in the first half. Had to get some people eliminated.
They did some spots in.
Yeah, they did some fun spots with like Santana smiling to the microphone and then eliminating. I think that was Austin Gunn or Colton, whichever.
Colton Gunn.
Yeah, Colton, the taller one. Yes. So there was like some cute little things like that for sure. But I thought it really picked up when we got down to the final 6 guys and there was one representative for every team. That's when I thought it really picked up.
Yeah, it definitely did pick up. The pace, everything was kind of go.
Yep. Eventually they got down to the final 4, which was Matt Jackson, Kyle O'Reilly, Dax Harwood, and John Silver, which a great final 4, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was a very good final 4.
John Silver had just the most wild, it was almost like a hot tag, even though it was in the middle of a battle royal.
And no one to tag.
Yeah, with no one to tag, tags himself in and runs wild on everybody. But eventually, the big story of the match is that Matt Jackson Kyle O'Reilly couldn't throw John Silver over the ropes, apparently, because of his shoulder.
His arm, yes, his shoulder, yeah, right.
And so he instructs Matt to do so and then immediately eliminates him. And I'm just like, Matt Jackson, what were you thinking, guy? How did you not know that was going to happen?
He got baited.
He sure did.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, he ate it up. But it was entertaining at the end. I enjoyed it. And I kind of figured that I don't know for sure that the Bucks are going to win next week, but I was pretty certain that one of the two teams, Red Dragon or the Bucks, would win one of these 2 qualifiers.
Yeah, I definitely think so. There is a few things I do kind of want to nitpick. I don't know if like you may have picked it up, but for some reason, Dax Harwood got so many chops in. I'm like, when is like someone just going to come in and just like elbow him in the back of the head? Like, they literally just let him like just chop people in the corner continuously.
That they did. It was supposed to be funny.
But you just have guys just like sitting there watching this happen. I'm like, oh my God, like just go punch this guy.
I mean, hey, would you intervene? Or
Yeah, I would. His back's turned to me. And then another thing I want to point out. I don't know if this is me being a Jericho and Jake Hager fanboy here, but was it Jericho's fault for them getting eliminated in the
I was
tag
gonna bring
royal?
that up. No, but it is Jericho's fault if they lose 2 weeks in a row for sure.
Oh,
I'm
is
sure.
it? It is. It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got something to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Jericho's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah, totally Jericho's fault. After
So
the
I just wanted to
match-
throw that out there.
Yeah, I actually didn't even really notice that. Or at least I didn't think too much of it. I basically don't even pay attention to most of the first half of the battle royal because it's a battle royal. So
Right.
whatever. But the aftermatch was when Hangman came down and everything was heated between the Bucks and Red Dragon.
They were not happy.
No, which honestly, like, again, if you're Matt Jackson, what were you thinking? Do you even have a right to be mad after falling for that bait so easily?
Baited.
But Adam Page comes down and beats the shit out of the Red Dragon boys. And then he's trying to beat the shit out of Adam Cole, but that's not going to work. And eventually, Kyle O'Reilly ends up back in the ring and takes the buckshot lariat after Silver attacked all those dudes for something of a distraction. And Page grabbed the mic and said it was story time. He stole Adam Cole's line, which that was the worst thing you could do to another wrestler. Worse than putting him out of action. Is steal his lines. And basically Page told the story of Adam Cole's career and said that this story was him inching too close to a 6-foot hole in the ground and that it would end with the sound of a buckshot, which goes boom. It was actually quite a poetic story by Hangman Page.
I was just say that promo was very on for me, especially. I just thought like the delivery was there. Just kind of the whole thing. It was just we finally got to unleash Hangman just a little bit on a promo.
I was gonna say it was most of what we've been asking for however long now.
Right.
Danielson was backstage after that. I don't know if you had that down.
Yeah, we did. With Tony.
Of course. Danielson talked up Daniel Garcia and totally just was taking every shot that he could at 2.0.
That promo definitely was good. I like how Danielson's been trying to get the the violence out of Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia. So I kind of like that theme going on.
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff. Kind of, I imagine we'll get more of these things until either the group is formed or Moxley says no.
Right.
After that was really the meat and potatoes segment of the whole show, probably. The MJF. Oh my God.
Yeah. I viewed it as MJF's origin story of CM Punk was the origin story for MJF being a bad guy.
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% what it was. And I think it's hilarious that, and we'll get to this a little later, but you've got this team, the Kings of the Black Throne, and you can't convince me that the entire gimmick isn't they're trying to be movie villains, evil people who want to be evil. And yet here's MJF, a better comic book villain than all of them combined. The guy in the suit is a more menacing villain after telling the story than the other people who actually want to be villains, because MJF doesn't think he's the bad guy in this situation at all.
He never thinks he's the bad guy.
No, and now you can see why.
Yeah, so he definitely made it seem like CM Punk was the bad guy. So I did kind of the origin story of this is when he turned heel.
Yeah, and to summarize, basically MJF was piggybacking off of the photograph that was shown between him and CM Punk just a week ago, and he explained that it was just a Friday for Punk, but it was both the best and worst days of his life as a child. One, because he was harassed by his football teammates for being Jewish and short and awkward and all the things that he said that he was.
And have ADHD or ADD. Well, I can't remember.
Yes, they said that he had ADHD and that these football players threw rolls of quarters at him and said to pick it up, Jew boy. Which, a little aside here, when he turned and said, "Oh, we got Jews in the house," respect. I laughed so hard when he said that.
And he got a response too. So.
Yeah, he did. Apparently, there were a couple Jewish people in the house. Good for MJF. But the story goes that MJF believed in CM Punk. He was his favorite wrestler, his inspiration to become a wrestler. But MJF went to college anyway. And then when CM Punk quit, he was motivated by the failures of CM Punk to provide the wrestling audience with entertainment. So he decided that was going to be what he did now. And he was never going to turn his back on anybody ever again. But in the process, he's clearly become an asshole.
Yes. Took it too literal.
Yeah, a little too literally. Not necessarily filling the shoes that I think he set out to fill. And like you said, that is the classic villain origin story type of thing.
Yeah, whatever AEW does with MJF, I mean, it's been hit after hit after hit after hit, and you can see why.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's probably the best at this than anybody that I've watched in wrestling.
Yeah, what he's doing is pretty remarkable. So
yes, absolutely. And then also just to add on to the characterization of MJF, it's the origin story for the comic book villain, the guy in the press suits who thinks he's everything and is actually evil and thinks he's right, but he's also playing the role of every fan that could not cope when CM Punk actually did leave, because you wouldn't believe some of the shit people would say, horrible things to this guy, all centered around the basis that he let them down by leaving wrestling. So MJF is a reflection of all of those people as well. And CM Punk literally had to come face to face with the personification of that mob of people that hated him for leaving.
Right.
It's very cool stuff. Very deep stuff for a goddamn wrestling show.
Yeah, I was gonna say the amount of layers that this had is wow. I did see a lot of people saying promo of the year, so just take that into consideration.
Very well could be.
How good that was.
Very well could be.
But yeah, then you got the 2.0 segment about Daniel Garcia. If he wants violence, he'll get it. Nothing more to add on that for me.
No, me neither. Simple stuff. Let's get to the meat.
Yeah, and then you got the House of Black versus the Death Triangle.
All right, so this is two separate things for me. I have a big problem with some of this. And when I say big problem, like obviously it's not that big a deal, and all of these dudes are awesome. But this is just, some of this is too convoluted for me. It is. Like Penta is now Penta Oscuro, which means Dark Penta. But other than the entrance and Alex Abrahantes now being a vampire, I don't think there's a single thing different about him.
I don't. Just other than the mask being all black.
Well, yeah, but the dude has worn all black attire before, right. So even though the mask might be new, he doesn't look any different once he takes the cloak off. And I don't know. They made such a big deal about this, also that he could go and be the same Penta that he is all the time. So I was a little bit taken aback by that. Like, all right, this is just a new entrance. So, all right, hopefully there's some more, but in this match, there was not. Also, the finish, I don't mean to skip ahead because there's some cool stuff in this match, but I just have to get these thoughts out. The finish, this Black Mist stuff is dumb. I hate it. It's super stupid. Any referee that lets that fly, when you talk about breaking your immersion, I mean, it's the most immersion breaking thing ever. These people have black fluid all over their face. And as a referee, you're telling me, oh, I don't know where it came from. It's dumb. That being said, as dumb as I think it is, like the finish was cool where Malachi Black had his mouth covered. And so he accidentally swallowed his Black Mist and was choking, and then ultimately opened a door for Penta to steal a win over Brody King.
Yeah, roll him up.
But
I think it was Malachi Black. I thought he pinned Malachi Black.
Oh yeah, you're right. He rolled up Malachi Black while he was choking on the mist. My fault. But yeah, that finish only works because of many other matches where we had to see a dumb finish where somebody was misted with Black Mist and he's blinding people. He's causing damage. Like, this is a wrestling company. These people are ranked. They go after titles. Where's the fine for blinding the competitors? I don't understand. I think too much of it is preposterous for me.
I can definitely understand that for sure. You know, it gets to be that point where it's like that fantasy, so to speak, where
Yeah,
it's like,
it doesn't even feel a part of the rest of the show.
right.
That being said, all the wrestlers are outstanding, and I could watch all these guys wrestle all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely a good match. I mean, I love seeing Pac out there, kind of do his thing. Brody King looks great. I mean, he moves for a big guy, and that's what you want.
Yeah. They had
He did a tope for.
Oh yeah, and he nailed that shit too.
Yeah.
That was a 10 out of 10. They're all incredible. I mean, German suplexes, super kicks, Penta hitting high crosses, 450 splashes, all of the stuff that you saw in this match. It was like
No destroyers,
back and forth, no destroyers. However, in place of a destroyer, you did get one of my favorite spots of the entire night, where Brody King lofted Pac onto Penta's shoulders and then immediately chopped him as hard as he could. And Pac flies backwards and accidentally gives his own partner a reverse Rana. And there was your head landing for the match.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pac almost landed on his head, and then Penta did land on his head.
Yes.
So it was almost a 2-for-1.
And then in what can only be described as WWE booking, after Malachi Black was rolled up, Brody King immediately starts beating the shit out of the team that won until the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, Buddy Matthews is in the ring making his debut.
And
Thoughts
he
on
looked
Buddy
massive.
Matthews? Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say he looked absolutely shredded.
I mean, I always thought he looked big, but mainly because he was on 205 Live when I first saw him, and he never belonged on that show ever. So he just looked very out of place there. But he is a big, defined guy, that is for sure.
So he had some traps, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he made it look like he was going to attack
Malachi Black.
Yes. And then he slowly positioned himself away, gave Penta the knee, beat down Pac, and
started beating up Penta again.
And then they curb stomped Penta's head into a chair on the ground. And for some reason, Penta was okay 10 seconds later and checking on Pac instead. So it was a little like hodgepodge of stuff, but ultimately people are going to remember the Buddy Matthews debut, and that was awesome. So whatever. It was all good.
And I do have to say, one of my favorite lines of that match was JR saying, lights on, lights off, wax on, wax off.
JR making a total mockery of something that should be mocked. I love it.
And then Tony's just like, what the hell?
Tony never knows what's going on. JR already knows what's going on. It's hilarious.
Oh man. But yeah, that got me. That was pretty good. I started laughing when he said lights on, lights off, wax on, wax off.
He always lets it through when he's not necessarily pleased with something.
Oh yeah. And then led to the Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa video package.
Yeah, this time it's gonna count. That's what Thunder Rosa said.
Yeah, it's gonna count.
And I also love that she opened it by saying, Britt Baker and friends.
Yeah, see, it just shows like JB Hater just
good.
like punching her in the back of the head or something.
But yeah, I'm excited for that match. I think Thunder Rosa needs to win.
Should be a great match, yes. And they're building that up to where it's going to be good. And like you kind of don't know who's going to win too, because you do want Britt Baker to keep winning, but you also have Thunder Rosa, who's been incredible too. So
Britt Baker's the DMD.
Yes.
Fixture on the show. It's hard to picture her not the champion now that she's been champion for so long.
Right. Absolutely. Then we moved on to the Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho promo.
This was also pretty damn good.
The face-to-face segment. I don't know. I forgot what the name of it was.
Whatever. Technicalities. Doesn't matter.
Yes. The security guards are out there.
Yeah, and Eddie was very hilarious, playing off of the fact that the security guards were there. Very displeased.
He said it wasn't an entertainment show, and if he did, he could go down the street or down the block.
Yes, which had I known that they were in Connecticut, it would have been much funnier, but I didn't realize they were in Connecticut until he said that. So, but no, it was still funny. Jericho did say, though, that this sports entertainment would actually be entertaining.
Yes, yes, he did. He did come back with that. So
there was one thing that I didn't like about this promo, but I think it was unavoidable because it's just the way they were going to go. I hate when all of the wrestling like terms are used on TV. And that's why I loved when Jericho said that he told Eddie he was going to be a huge baby face. Eddie was like, what's a baby face? Because as we've said before, this is real to him.
Yes, it's real to him. He
and how
doesn't know
dare
when that
Jericho.
line's been crossed.
Yes, no. Jericho was basically backhanded complimenting Kingston through the whole segment and expecting, like, Jericho gives these backhanded compliments to people all the time, and Eddie was not having any of it.
No, he was not.
The gist of it is that Jericho thinks that Kingston is jealous of him because everything that Eddie's done, he did 15 years prior to Eddie doing it, and basically takes credit for changing the wrestling world every time he does anything, which seems like a bold claim. A lot of the stuff that Jericho is making, he doesn't necessarily know this man.
I still think one of my favorite parts is that, at the very end when they're, going face to face, saying that he wants the Jericho that won the AEW championship. Well, Jericho is a bad guy, so I hope that Jericho becomes a bad guy now.
Yeah,
because I think that's where we're leading up to it. So
he said he wanted the Jericho that was the first world champion. He wanted the Jericho that Paul Levesque hated. He wanted the Jericho that had the respect of his hero Tenru. All of these things. He said, and if you do not bring that Jericho, he's going to eat him alive. And I've never believed a man more in the context of pro wrestling than I believed Eddie Kingston here, saying that if Jericho doesn't bring serious Jericho, it's not going to be pretty.
Right. No, I definitely absolutely believe that. And I do believe that Jericho is going to, be the bad guy that, we've been accustomed to.
Yeah, it's time for Jericho to go back to the dark side.
Yes. I love Jericho as a bad guy. I think he's perfect for it.
And along the lines of Jericho being a bad guy, he told Kingston that he had achievophobia, which is the fear of success. I'm questioning it. Kingston, he basically runs down Eddie's family. He backhanded compliments his entire family by saying his uncle and father were both failures, but they were Eddie's heroes, and so he's going to be a failure just like them. It was very good back and forth. I know some people didn't like Jericho's promo, and I don't like the you're a baby face like on live TV. It's that whole immersion breaking thing for me, but it was still good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then we went to the AHFO backstage promo.
Yeah, it was short and weird, but these guys are hilarious together. So whatever.
I did like on Twitter, it was like AEW needs more Jose or something. I forgot what the hashtag was, but it was like need more Jose.
I mean, Jose, he's got a charisma about him.
I just like how Jose is getting all the praise now. It's ever since that fist bump that like went really like under the radar, he's been gaining a lot of steam.
The fist bump heard around the world, except for me who missed it the first time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But for as much money as they claim to have, they keep meeting in the stairway. Like they don't ever meet in like a room or anything. And I think that's hilarious that they're just meeting in like just a stairway.
They meet in a stairwell, yet when Andrade went to go see Darby and Sting, it would appear that Sting and Darby had their own locker room.
Yes.
That's a great point. That hadn't even registered with me, but yeah, you'd think they could afford better accommodations for their backstage segments by now.
Yeah, so that was like a little thing I just like picked up on. I'm like, but this is funny though. They're just hanging out in the stairs.
But basically, this whole thing was Matt Hardy taking a shot at Andrade.
Yes.
He said he was going to win the TNT title, and they showed a highlight from Dark where Andrade tagged Isaiah Cassidy in just to get the pinfall. So Matt Hardy goes, "Well, is your strategy in this match going to be to tag Isaiah in too? Because you can't do that," or something. And I thought that was pretty funny. But
yeah, they have the 3-way match with or the trios match.
Yeah,
they set up.
Or no, not even. It's the tag trios match. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They did all this just to set up Isaiah Cassidy, Andrade, and Matt Hardy versus Sammy, Darby, and Sting. Mm-hmm. That's what we're getting on the paper. I'm sure it'll be great. It's
an interesting.
We were way collection. Off in our predictions regarding all of these guys.
Interesting collection.
All right. Well, this is your time to shine, my friend. Taz joins commentary and take it away.
Oh man, Taz joining commentary just always makes my my Wednesday nights just that much better. But yeah, it was Ricky Starks versus 10 of the Dark Order, and wow, Ricky Starks just looks great. He just he does his thing out there. He's a star.
he does do his thing out there.
And then of course, Will Hobbs is just sitting in the chair holding the FTW belt. I think that's it's just always funny. Just big Will Hobbs just sitting in the chair, just watching the match.
Big Willie. I love the overalls too.
Yes, he do. He rocks those.
He really does. I don't think anybody could pull him off quite like Powerhouse Hobbs.
But I did like in this match that Ricky Starks, being a smaller guy, finds ways around Ten's big bruteness.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you're not gonna like this, but I thought this was just there. I didn't think it was necessarily special, and I think it's
for what it was. It wasn't it wasn't anything like spectacular, but
too much 10 being 2 weeks in a row with 10 in a feature match. He's not that good. He's good, but he's not that good.
Right. So, but Ricky Starks ended up getting the victory, and now we have 2 members of Team Taz in the ladder match, which
is this the second time they've had? This is the second time they've boasted this numbers advantage, because they used to talk about having the numbers advantage in the fucking Battle Royals too. And they never won any of those either.
No, they just kept going after Darby Allin and those.
Yeah, they'd get distracted. They'd get distracted and end up losing.
They get distracted, but they find one person to beat on, and they beat the hell out of them for the entire time, and then get eliminated.
Yeah. And also, just as a capper here, I get that there was the grabbing at the mask before he ended up spearing him and whatnot, but like, you can't convince me that after any combination of moves, Ricky Starks can pin a man the size of 10 with a spear.
Give him the Rochambeau. That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. Even though that's just basically picking a guy up and slamming him down, it just looks a little fancier. At least you've picked him up and slammed him down. That's a little bit more impressive.
Right. Well, especially if he's going to be in a match with Wardlow and Keith Lee. He's got to pick someone up.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to show him that he's strong enough to do it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad Ricky Starks is in the match. And Team Taz is really getting its time to shine. One of those fuckers better win that ladder match, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. But yeah, then we kicked it backstage with Keith Lee, and I think it was with Alex Marvez.
No, this was Cutler Cam.
Oh, was it Cutler Cam?
I thought so.
Okay, then I must have missed that one.
I don't know. All I know is there's usually never an interviewer when they're back there. So the main point of it is that the Bucks were not happy that Red Dragon double crossed them at all. And Red Dragon was acting like this was just totally normal behavior, and why are they mad?
And then Adam Cole yelled at him to get along.
Yes, they were bickering back and forth. And one of my favorite things that Adam Cole does is he raises his voice and gets everybody under control. I don't know why I find it funny, but every time he does that, I think it's hilarious.
And then Kyle O'Reilly told Landon to cut it.
Yeah, and then Bobby Fish got his name wrong too. Quite funny.
So then, we had that, and then now I guess the Keith Lee backstage interview, where Ricky and Will Hobbs interrupted.
Yeah. This is pretty funny. When Ricky Starks goes, "Hi, my name is Keith Lee." I thought that was great.
My favorite thing with Ricky Starks on promos is he always finds a unique way to get jabs in. And especially when they had the feud with Darby. I know I say this a few times, especially because Austin Gunn did it, but Ricky did it first, where he dressed up as Darby and said, "I like turtles." It's like...
Well, it's kind of like The Rock. Like he's doing stuff that The Rock used to do, where he would go backstage and just belittle and make fun and mock people. And sometimes he'd do impressions, and sometimes he'd ask questions that they don't want to answer. And he's kind of got a little bit of The Rock in him when he does those backstage things.
He does, yes.
The Rock used to make fun of Kane and the Big Show, and he'd do impressions of Chris Jericho. It's kind of the vibes that I got.
I like it. I'm here for it too. So. But that leads us to the main event.
Actually,
does it?
It's the TBS Championship.
Well, forgettable then.
Well, yeah, it was forgettable. Actually, I only pointed this segment out to say that most of the match happened in a commercial. But I will say, when they came back and they introduced the title, once Matt Hardy and Mark Sterling got ejected, when they did the double ejection, the crowd was like wildly into this, and didn't matter. Jade ended up winning. If the crowd's into it, then I'm fine. I didn't even really see a lot of the match. I think Jade is getting better, so that's good. It's just
Yes, and then Ty Conti came out to challenge.
Yes, Ty Conti jumped the gun a little bit too. I think Jade was supposed to declare that they have a match at the pay-per-view, and Ty was not having it. She just slammed the mic down and charged her, but that's the match we're gonna get, is that Jade versus Ty Conti at Revolution, which hopefully it's good. I feel like somebody's gonna get hurt.
We hope everyone's safe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Then I guess is then the main event. I have no idea. I'm off.
Main event. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia.
Very technical.
Yeah, I mean, it was a damn good match, and I love watching Bryan Danielson brutally beat down the young guys that he's trying to recruit.
Yes.
I was just a little underwhelmed that after a show that built the pay-per-view so well and had all this stuff on it, that this was our unannounced main event. I mean, I know they might have announced it, but it didn't feel like they played it up very big, and it's because it's not very big. But
right,
the rest of the show, the contrast was just kind of like a little disappointing. But they did all kinds of crazy stuff, and they certainly worked very hard. It was a great match. It was just an underwhelming pairing to end the show.
Yes, it was. But overall, like I said, it was still a great match.
It was a great match, which obviously ended in Danielson getting his triangle submission where he flexes. And really,
that's great.
Which is always great. And really, this whole match was there to set up the Danielson-Moxley match at the pay-per-view. So Danielson picks up his victory. And after the match, he asked...
Gets attacked by 2.0.
Well, first, remember last week, he asked the crowd if Lee Moriarty had passed and shown enough violence, and the crowd thought so, but Danielson decided not, and then killed him. This week, Danielson asked the crowd the same thing, and the crowd obviously cheered, but this time Danielson agreed, and he was actually being a gentleman to Daniel Garcia when those goddamn 2.0 guys take it upon themselves to...
Matt Lee,
that fucking guy. I mean, I love him, but Jesus. But ultimately, it sets up Moxley to come down and clean house. Garcia was going to hit Moxley with the chair, but Danielson stopped him and then had nothing to confront Moxley with. So he took a great paradigm shift. It was hilarious. He's a great bumper, that Daniel Garcia.
He definitely took a paradigm shift.
But anyway, that was that. And Moxley then got in Danielson's face, and Danielson said that he did not need a chair to make him bleed, and to not be surprised if he was the only one bleeding. They have a match at the Revolution pay-per-view, so they officially set that up, and that was pretty good.
That was very good. Very good way to end the show.
Oh yeah, this was a top to bottom for setting stuff up. This was an incredible show. I mean, it's very hard to recap the promo segments because, well, we don't have the word for word recap, and to do so, we would be here for as long as it took Dynamite to air.
2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, geez. But all the segments on the show, in my view, were absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. See, this is what happens when Dynamite is clicking. It's just great segment to great segment to great segment.
Yes. And when it's not clicking, like this Orange Cassidy is going to win this qualifying match, and he's going to be in the ladder match. I'm going to be so pissed. But like all the stuff that you had this guy do, at least we're not having to watch Jay White versus Orange Cassidy at Revolution, thank God. But all the stuff that you had this guy do was also that he could be in a ladder match. Just ridiculous. There was so much better use of Adam Cole in the Best Friends time.
Yeah. Too much Fairweather fans.
Also,
friends.
As an update on the Fairweather Friends, before we wrap up the Dynamite portion here, I've gone back and binge watched some of the weeks of Being the Elite. I've just been getting myself caught up on some of the backstories, and apparently Trent is starting to detest all of these people that have been added to the Best Friends.
Yeah, he has, especially like Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah. And his comments are like borderline Young Buck type backhanded compliment comments that Trent says under his breath. And it's kind of funny, but have some balls. Just beat him up and walk away.
Yeah,
You're no longer needed. I mean, come on.
Yeah, what do they don't come out to save you. They don't come out to do anything for you. They let you take Canadian destroyers on your neck after coming back from neck surgery.
And Chuck Taylor was one of the first people out of that battle royal. Trent,
The
the
anchor.
writing is on the walls, my friend.
The anchor.
Yes. I told you I'm watching that show Suits, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, so shout out to Suits and shout out to anyone listening who watches Suits. Comment about Suits. But at the very beginning of the show, the big time lawyer Harvey was insisting that Mike needed to ditch his weed selling best friend if he wanted to be a lawyer and do this stuff. And every time Mike would come back and talk to him, he would go, Mike, the boy is an anchor. Get rid of him. And that's basically, if I'm Trent, that's how I'm feeling right about now.
Yeah, Chucky T.
Anchor.
Done. Anchor. Go back to teaming with Rocky Romero.
Yes, unbelievable. They would have had a much better chance to win that match if Rocky was the other guy in there.
Yeah, absolutely. The percentage. We're
otherwise.
Moneyball guys. Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, before I get any angrier about Trent being Trent. Oh, and the last Trent and Fairweather Friends related news. There was also a tweet where they were all wearing these bright white neon coats that reflected with the camera lens. And it was Trent, Chuck, Chris Statlander, Orange Cassidy, and somebody else. Maybe Wheeler Yuta was in the picture. But Danhausen responded to the tweet and said, "Where is my cult cloak?" or something like that. And
nice.
Trent responded, "Yeah, Danhouse, you're not really in our thing. Sorry." Or something along those lines. But I popped. It was huge. It was really funny.
Yeah, I like how Trent has to be the bad guy in this.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to be, or they're all going to keep losing. But any other final closing thoughts on Dynamite?
No, just a good show.
It's really easy to recap when it's really, really good.
Yes, it is.
All right, it's time to shift the focus to Rampage, which I just finished watching. Fish, what did you think?
Still a good show. Like overall, like I said, it's been my favorite show. It's been consistent. I think we got some good matches. I definitely saw people that I like to see wrestle. So that's always a plus for my end as a viewer. Yeah, overall, I thought it was a very solid show.
I agree.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you kick off Rampage with Sammy Guevara and Andrade. So
yeah, these guys are really, really good. Holy shit.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why I'm on the anti Sammy Guevara as TNT Championship champ, but God, I feel like Andrade would do so much great things with the TNT Championship belt.
I think it has a little bit to do with there's all these dudes that don't have TV time, or at least they don't have enough of it. And Sammy, not that it's a bad or good thing, but he has been around since the inception of AEW, and he's literally gotten TV time like nobody's business for 3 years now. So
right.
That might have a little something to do with it. Not that he doesn't deserve the time that he's gotten, but it's like he got in with the Inner Circle and has been a feature component of both shows for 3 years. And guys like Miro have been seen since their promo a few weeks ago. Andrade is finally getting its due. You know, there's all kinds of people. So I think that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, I bet it does. But yeah, it was an incredible match. I mean, just a lot of back and forth. And some of the moves Andrade does is just electric.
Dude, he's very explosive, and like he's actually kind of a big dude, like compared to some of these other people.
His upper body is massive.
Yeah. So when he smashes into people, it doesn't look good for the other person.
No, it does not.
They did as the match kind of broke down, Andrade went to the top, and Guevara went up there with him and took him down to the mat with a Spanish fly, which is my favorite move. I mean, not
There's
my favorite
two Spanish flies.
Yeah, there was the one early too. I like Sammy's Spanish fly better than most. I don't know why.
I think it's just because he does it with bigger people too.
He does it with everybody.
Yeah, he does it with everybody. So I think that's like very impressive.
The one thing I will say, well, first of all, you want to tell us about the finish?
I thought it was a weird finish because I don't know what was
it. It wasn't angry.
It wasn't the 450 splash that he normally does. Or isn't it the 630 or 630 splash? Sorry. It was just like a moonsault, like kind of what Dante Martin does.
He did
like
go
the
Dante
backwards.
Martin style.
But yeah, there was that little hiccup with Andrade getting on the ropes, and Matt Hardy. You didn't know what he was doing, if he was trying to hold him on or push him off.
Yeah, which I really like all these dudes, and like the feud is great and whatnot. And I'm sure it's a way to get Matt Hardy away from the AHFO, and it's a way to get Jeff and him together eventually. However, a couple weeks ago, it looked like we were going to be getting a three-way: Sammy versus Andrade versus Darby Allin. And I can confidently say I would 100% rather see that match than the trios tag match. And so
I would too.
Most of this post match just irritated me. I mean, Darby Allin ran in and hit that he hit a classic Darby tope. You knew he wasn't setting anything up because he kept sprinting. So,
and then Matt Hardy just took it like a champ too.
Oh my God, poor Matt Hardy. he ate that one.
He did eat it.
Well, what do we got next? Some QT Marshall action.
We had QT Marshall calling out Hook and saying that
this disrespectful son.
He just went up to Taz and said, like, I deserve all the credit for making Hook. And Taz just sitting there laughing on commentary. And then he calls out Hook, and a bunch of the security guards go after Hook. Hook takes them out one by one. Even had one just say, no, I don't want any part of this, and just left.
Yeah, it seems as if we're going to get another QT special on a pay-per-view here.
A 5-minute QT match. I like it.
I mean, God, that guy's got the best job. All you got to do is come in on a pay-per-view. You'll probably get a premier spot, and you just got to wrestle some dude who's way more over than you for a couple minutes and get destroyed.
He gets the big payday of getting pinned in 5 minutes.
He does that better than anybody I know.
He's good at it. Like he's like that good, just arrogant, like not good, but like thinks he's good.
He's a great jobber that's like not necessarily always a jobber.
Who'll pull out some like random wins. You're like, man, QT beat this guy?
And some good moves every once in a while as well.
But yeah, yes. Overall, Hook is still over.
Yes, he choked out one of QT Marshall's guys, and it looks like we'll get him and what's his face at a pay-per-view. QT,
yes. Yeah, and then we just really went right into Wardlow versus Nick Camarado right after that.
Well, actually, they had a backstage promo first, the short Dan Lambert thing.
Yes, yeah, forgettable.
When these guys are in a active storyline and they're involved, they're way better. When they're just tossed on a show to do some backstage thing about a match that's coming up, they're not nearly as good.
Yeah, it's Scorpio Sky was like showing signs of like displeasure with Dan Lambert.
Which, how could you not? It's Dan Lambert.
I don't. But yeah, and then we just moved right into Wardlow Nick Camarado match,
which was basically just a commercial break match.
Yeah, but Nick Camarado picking up Wardlow with one hand, incredible.
Oh, that was insanity. He was trying to do a one-handed press slam on Wardlow. How fucking crazy is that?
And he got him up. Like, he got him up and was holding him.
He didn't not hit the move because of his failure to get him up. Wardlow had to make an escape.
Yeah, it's just like, he's like, Nick Camarado is still like one of the guys where you're like, you kind of want to see more of him because he can do stuff like that.
I liked the fact that they used Camarado, which, by the way, after he escapes the one-handed attempted press slam, he hits the choke slam, gets the powerbomb symphony all queued up, and ends up coming away with the victory. 4 powerbombs on this guy. I mean, Jesus.
And then you still have the crowd chanting, one more time.
I mean, honestly, 4 might have actually been the limit there because Camarado is a monster.
He is a huge man.
That's part of the reason I didn't like him being used here. I get that the whole point was to show that Wardlow's about to be in a ladder match with a bunch of big dudes.
Right.
And so they wanted to show that he could hit the
Powerbomb Symphony. Yes.
On big dudes, but I wish it had been a big dude that wasn't Nick Camarado because
I know. Yes. Right. I can understand that. I do too.
And then Spears, obviously, with the chair as well.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, he saw Aaron Solo try to like jump in on Wardlow, and Sean Spears just let it happen.
Yes, he did. And then they did the hug, which was Hilarious.
My favorite thing was Sean Spears telling Wardlow that the Powerbomb Symphony isn't over. It's just all the boos just started raining in.
That was so great.
He's like, basics, basics, basics.
I hope that Sean Spears cost Wardlow the title match or the ladder match, and so Wardlow ends up costing MJF the Punk match, and then there's just a huge debacle.
That would be incredible.
It would be the one time I'm okay with
the DQ or interference.
Well, the good thing is usually what they'll do is they'll create a match where they're allowed to interfere because of the rules of the match or whatever, and then what'll happen is that will be like the excuse. And then randomly, there will be a match that actually has rules, and they'll still let people interfere, and nothing will happen. So usually I dislike when they kind of create a circumstance to allow for interference because they do a shitload of interference all the time anyways. But in this case, for the progression of the story of all these guys, I think that would be tremendous.
Yeah, especially for this scenario, it would be. Then after that, we went to the Serena Deeb, Kayla Sparks.
Which,
right?
Yes, this is so irritating to me because Deeb chokes out this Sparks chick with her own robe, and Jericho is claiming on commentary that it doesn't count, which is all about just the same thing like MJF and CM Punk, which also didn't count. He was choking him with a foreign object. But why were neither of them like disqualified? I mean, come on.
Refs got to do their job.
MJF match, I get big match. Let it play out. Let the boys play. But Serena Deeb is doing a 5-minute challenge where she almost immediately breaks the rules blatantly. I'm confused.
Yeah, she's the professor.
Yeah, whatever. You'd figure the professor would do a little bit better job hiding all of her blatant cheating, but okay.
Yeah.
It was a quick one. Played with her food a little bit.
2 minutes and 30 seconds. I think it was something like that.
Yeah, it was. So she's taking a little bit longer as we go week by week.
Yeah, it's incremental length in the match, but it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we throw it down to the contract signing for the women's,
moderated by poor Tony Schiavone,
who he has I guess a bet on this because he's already friends with Britt Baker, so he's already a homer for Britt.
Yeah, he sure is. And her promo was outstanding. I mean, I almost wish Thunder Rosa had a little bit more because
for as long as Britt Baker talked, I wish Thunder Rosa had more to say.
Which maybe we'll see next week, one of the two shows before the actual pay-per-view. But yes, I wish Thunder Rosa had more to say here. That being said, Britt Baker's little tirade here was quite good in a sense that it makes sense, but it's also not true necessarily. Thunder Rosa is usually a featured person, so to say that people don't care about her as much when she's not with Baker, well, Baker's got the title. Nobody cares about anything as much as they're going to care about the title.
Right,
so it's kind of like a total backhanded compliment because she's not giving her any credit at all while still making it sound like, oh, well, if you wrestle me, then people care about you, which, Britt
I just love when people are, I was gonna say, I just love when people call themselves like the pillar of AEW. I just think that's great.
She said she'll never be the pillar that she is. Or the face of AEW, which hilarious. Yeah, but Rosa did just kind of stand there and take it. And then as soon as Baker signed the contract, Rosa jumped over the table.
Just started punching her in the face.
Yes, and which, maybe better strategy because Jamie Hayter and Rebel were right there.
Yeah.
But she had a friend. Martinez.
Yeah, she had a friend come down.
Yeah. I'm excited for the match. And we saw the Spinebuster through the table with Martinez and Hayter, so maybe we'll get a match with them next week or something.
Yeah, that'll probably be the go home show.
Yep. But great segment. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, very good. And then we ended it with Orange Cassidy and Anthony Bowens for the qualifier for the Face of the Revolution.
Now, look, I've just got to get this out of the way. I've never said that Orange Cassidy is a bad wrestler. In fact, I think he's a quite good of a wrestler. However, I think Anthony Bones is a tremendous wrestler, and I don't even think that he should have won. But
Anthony Bones looked really
he
good.
looked awesome, and I'm just looking at this lineup in the ladder match, and we've got Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Starks, Keith Lee, and Orange Cassidy. Like, you've got Starks, who isn't going to do a bunch of crazy moves. You've got three big dudes who, if they're doing crazy moves, that's probably a bad idea. And then you've got a guy,
I don't want them doing on the top rope. I don't want.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got a guy who is now qualified for a ladder match, who his actual character is that he does nothing.
He doesn't care.
No,
he's nonchalant.
So who is the last? Maybe they announced a fifth qualifying match and I missed it. I don't know.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing it here either. Maybe we're just both stupid, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say maybe this is the Swerve comes in and is the last qualifier.
I would be happy with that. I mean, that would certainly balance out what we're looking for in a ladder match a little more. And I've seen Swerve have some great ladder matches, so that would make sense.
But yeah, I mean, Anthony Bones I want him to get more of a chance.
Yeah, the acclaimed, as soon as we started talking about how much we love the Acclaimed, they started losing all the time.
I know. They're so good together. They are.
We started talking about how much we loved them as they made their way to the number one ranking in tag team division, and then they lost to Sting and Darby, and I don't know if they've fucking won since.
They've both lost individually. Anthony Bones has lost twice, and Max Caster has lost once.
My God,
because Max Caster lost to Wardlow. Anthony Bones lost to Orange Cassidy. And he's the rest of like the week before.
I don't even remember, but I know that he lost.
Yeah.
And they've both lost qualifying matches.
Yes, they both lost.
God damn. Well, I mean, if there's any particular spots in the match you wanted to go over, feel free. I mean, this was standard. Most of the stuff you see both of these guys do, it's just that they do it. And Bowen specifically just looks so good.
When he hit his finisher, I'm like, oh, this is over. Like, finally. And then, no, they reeled me in on that one.
I wouldn't allow myself to get reeled in by that one because I knew what they were going to do. Oh, Danhausen cursed Caster too, by the way. Forgot about that.
Oh, yes. Because then Orange Cassidy gave him the orange punch.
That's why they're losing. It's because they keep getting cursed. So Adam Cole probably not going to win the title since he got cursed. All right. Well, anything, I mean, that's kind of the show. It was a solid, easy watch. It's just, why do they have to end it with me having to watch Orange Cassidy qualify for a title opportunity match? I mean, fuck. Whatever. Closing thoughts on the show?
No, overall good. Like I said, there's people that I wanted to watch wrestle, and they were on. So, for my viewing pleasure, it was great.
It was a good night of wrestling. However, the fact that it was thrown in my face that we're not getting a TNT title 3-way, and that it was bookended with throwing Orange Cassidy in my face being a part of the ladder match. Those things I did not necessarily like, but all of the wrestling and the promos were pretty damn good. So what else can you ask?
Not too much more. And then we had Taz on commentary, so that's always a nice
Taz on commentary. Hook choked somebody out. Sammy did a bunch of crazy shit. Andrade's an awesome wrestler. I mean, there's so much stuff worth watching on the show that I can't let those two things bend me out of shape. But
we're good.
We've got Revolution coming up next Sunday. I've got the lineup right here. Hopefully they don't add anything else. If they do, it's not going to be important anyway. So we'll start with we'll do a little AEW Revolutions 2022 predictions. We'll start with the Trios Tornado Tag Match. AHFO versus Sammy, Darby, and Sting. Who do you got?
I have actually the AHFO.
I also have the AHFO. in this match as well, just because I feel like Sammy's TNT title reign has got, like, Andrade's got to come away with that title at some point, right?
Right. Well, I was just gonna say that Sammy got the big singles win. I think something
Exactly.
goofy's gonna happen where
He beat both of them by
right.
slight fluke. I mean, Darby was all fluke that he beat him, but still.
But yeah, so that's why I'm just thinking where the HFO gets a win because Sammy's had 2 quality wins compared to no one else getting a win. So this is
Yeah.
time where I don't know if Sammy gets pinned, but I think
Sammy gets pinned. And we get
so.
another Andrade Sammy Guevara title match.
Works well with me.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Then we got Jericho versus Eddie Kingston.
I want to say Jericho because I want to see him turn to the dark side again.
I also want to see Jericho turn to the dark side, which is why I'm going to go the opposite of your prediction. I don't think they have this plan to be a pro. Actually, you know what? Look, I'm picking Eddie Kingston, but I think it can go one of 2 ways. Since they've kind of just started this feud and it had to start and stop, I have no idea whether they're planning for it to be long or not. But they could do 2 things. Eddie could win, and then Jericho, you know what? This is my prediction. I've deliberated it in my head as I've stammered through here, and now I know what's going to happen. Kingston is going to beat Jericho. But Jericho tells Eddie that, you know, if he beats him, he will stand in the ring, tell him he respects him, and shake his hand. I think that's when Jericho, the heel turn, happens.
I can see that. So
I think that's when he goes rogue and gives Eddie the Judas effect, and then Hager runs down and beats him up, and Santana and Ortiz make the save, and then that feud gets prolongated a little longer.
See, I had it going a different way where I have Jericho doing like a low blow or something that cheats, maybe brings out Floyd and hits Eddie.
Sure.
And then, so after Jericho wins, I can see Santana and Ortiz comes down, you know, trying to make the save and be like, yo, like, what is that? Like, you know, stuff like that. That is clean. And then Jake Hager comes in and knocks both of them from behind.
Wow. So we've got different routes to the same destination.
Yes.
CM Punk, MJ, or actually, before that, John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson is listed. Who do you think's winning that one?
I got to say Moxley.
I think so too.
There's a reason why I guess Bryan Danielson asked him to be in this faction.
I think we're going to get the faction.
Right. I think so for a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a long one, but I think we're going to get it for a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And that also will probably end down the road in Danielson turning on Moxley because he's a prick. Or Moxley was supposed to go heel before he ended up going into the rehab. So maybe he ends up turning heel on Danielson because I don't know that Danielson was supposed to be a heel for long. And now here he is.
But it's not like the heel. Like I'm a bad guy. That we've talked about this before. So
yes, he tiptoes the line very well. And then next is the CM Punk MJF dog collar match, which not a whole lot even needs to be said about this. I mean, Jesus, the TV show and the build has said it all. And I'm just predicting CM Punk to win. I have no idea what happens after that. Something with Wardlow? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see CM Punk win, but I mean, you can honestly see go both ways, but CM Punk needs a win.
Yeah, I don't think MJF needs to beat him again.
Not for a third time claimed.
I don't know. I think I might have just said it. CM Punk doesn't need to get beaten again.
Right.
Yeah. Then we have the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which, I mean, I think it's always the safest bet to pick whoever the last person announced is because it's usually a surprise. And if the surprise is Swerve, that's who I'm picking to win.
Yeah, I mean, I just guessed it would be Swerve since there's always been that reported that he's up like backstage and stuff like that. So I just assume that he's going to be there.
So that's who I'm picking.
I am actually going to go with Keith Lee as mine.
Not a bad idea. I mean,
so I'm going to go with
it's going to be one of the 2 new guys.
So yeah, I think it's going to be Keith Lee. Because obviously Wardlow's got bigger and better things to do. Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks. As much as I love Team Taz, I think they can feud with someone else that can use quality time for them. And who else was in it? Orange Cassidy? Get out of here.
Yeah, not going to win.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, whoever comes in the last or Keith Lee.
TBS Championship, Jade Cargill, Ty Conti. I've got Jade Cargill. I don't even think it's much of a discussion.
No, it's going to be Jade. As much as like we probably would want to see Ty Conti win, it's definitely Jade.
Oh, this is one that we'll have a hard time predicting. AEW Tag Team Championships. Jungle Express versus
Red Dragon versus
Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon versus. Okay, so we'll do this. Who do you think the third team's going to be?
The Bucks of Youth.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to go Bucks of Youth. They did a really good job in the first one, making you believe that it could have been FTR and that Santana and Ortiz, just because of their own storyline, like you've got to consider them. However, I do think the more I've sat with it, that it's going to be the Bucks.
Yeah, I don't see any other team really that.
However, Jurassic Express is my pick to retain against my better judgment. Because my prediction
makes sense because they're going to go after each other.
Yes, they're going to forget about the actual champions that are in the match with them, and that'll be that.
And that's going to give a great, I guess, so to speak, like big win over two great tag teams.
Oh yeah,
for Jurassic Express. Them. Yes, and even though they might necessarily like play a huge role in the match, because the whole storyline is between Red Dragon and the Young Bucks. They're just the kind of the afterthought, but. So you can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, sure. Of course. Which generally isn't a good idea. Making your champions the afterthought in the match. But I trust the Bucks and Red Dragon to be able to do it for them.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to give them some highlight spots.
Yeah. AEW women's title. I've got Thunder Rosa.
I got Thunder Rosa too, even though I think Britt Baker's promos lately just
have
knocked it out of the.
She really makes him not want to take the title off of her.
Right, but I think that she can. I think it's going to be much easier to build her back up, or even take the TBS championship. Than I think Thunder Rosa, and I think Thunder Rosa needs a big win after kind of getting screwed on that Mercedes Martinez. Interference.
I agree. And then finally, we've got the AEW World Championship. I think the Hangman hangs on to it.
I think so. So I've been deliberating on this one. I thought Adam Cole. So I'm going to stick with Adam Cole because he was my first initial thought.
Okay.
But I can definitely see like Hangman easily retaining as well.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even think it's, I mean, obviously it'll be an outstanding match, but I'm like 99% to 1% in favor of a Hangman Page. Like and this sounds like cherry picking, but if Adam Cole had spent the first 6 weeks in the build to this pay-per-view not wrestling the fucking best friends, I might believe that he could win this match.
Right.
But and it doesn't even have anything to do with the fact that he lost, because I know how they do their things. Let's say, oh, it doesn't count, and people will accept it. My whole thing is that anyone who is actually going to win the title is going to be doing far more important shit leading up to the title. Right. Hangman, in the process of winning that title, was actively going after the title. Adam Cole wrestled the best friends for 6 weeks and didn't make mention of the title until after. And then it was kind of like, okay, it's the next championship feud. And I don't know. I don't think they to me, it did not impact me in a way that makes me believe either guy has a chance of winning. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Hangman Page has won.
Right. And I took the approach of like Hangman winning is because you also have, the feud with the Red Dragon and the Young Bucks, where he's definitely, a big proponent in that storyline of making the decision. And obviously I think that's where he's better off served than being champion. I just kind of, threw it out there that like, there is like the off chance that he might win it. There's
always a chance, and it's not like you can go wrong. It's just, it doesn't necessarily make sense for him to.
I wouldn't think it makes sense, but that's why I went with Adam.
You're going bold though.
I am going bold on that one.
That's fair. Well, if there are any final thoughts on Rampage, the pay-per-view show coming up, anything like that,
drop us a comment about who your picks are.
Yeah, give us your predictions. Send it to us on Twitter at Gould-Fish Pod. Tell us who you think is going to win. Leave us a comment on YouTube. Come on, comments, replies. We need one.
We'll respond.
We'll respond. We're active.
We're not that big league yet.
No, we need at least a couple hundred subscribers before we start big leaguing people.
Yes, yeah, we got to have some clout to start big leaguing people, but we're not there yet.
No.
That's our heel turn, is when we're big leaguing people.
I can't wait to turn heel.
Oh,
Anyways, that's all we've got for you this week. For Ryan Fish, I'm Matt Gould. Thanks for listening to Gould-Fish Pod.
Yep. Later.
Peace.